good to be back. Welcome to Forte Catholic. This is episode 30. I'm your host, Taylor Stroll, and I am back after a week layoff. I got laid off. I'm just kidding. I did not get laid off, but I was laid up in bed last week with strep throat. It was not pretty, but I am back in full force with the help of my antibiotics in my backpack. Having a lot of fun with those. Getting better. So I am very excited to be back. Not only was I not on the air, I couldn't talk for 7 days. And those of you that know me or have heard the show for more than about 7 seconds, you know that I love the sound of my own voice. So it was a very rough week for me. Not only was I sick physically, but my mind and my spirit and my soul were just suffering because I had so much knowledge and goodness to let out of this mouth of mine, and I just couldn't do it. So here I am with all of it bottled up. And I'm ready for a great show today. We have a great show planned for you. I am in the studio with our ever-friendly, ever-beautiful, ever-cunning producer, Jake Blazek. He is here today. Sam Shepard is also here. And a man that I cannot name for contractual reasons. I'm just kidding. Kyle Turner is here, who has been on the show as well. So we are going to have some fun today. The first segment, I have some announcements to make. Some that are pertaining to the show, some pertaining to my personal life, and then we'll talk about what's going on in my personal life and what that has to do with the scriptures and with faith. So, in the second segment, I will be joined by Sarah Vabulous, who I'm very excited to talk to. She is the Catholic Drinkie, so we'll be talking about Catholicism and alcohol and podcasts and what the heck those like. Not many people can put all those three things together. Her and I can. She does it a little bit better than me, but you know, like the song, was it from Mary Poppins? These are a few of my favorite things. Is that Mary Poppins? Sound of Music, same thing. It's a lady that sings. I'm sure it rained in Mary Poppins and Sound of Music. So they both had. Is Julie Andrews the same person? I knew I was onto something. Thank you, unnamed person talking to me on the microphone. So yeah, we started talking about Mary Poppins for some reason. So let's get back on track, shall we? So what track were we on? Speaking of track, I'm back. The state track meet was this last weekend. That was a perfect segue. So many of you know that I coach track at St. Joseph's Catholic School here in Bryan. And we had the greatest season in St. Joseph's history. The school has been around for 121 years. Think about that. Where were you 121 years ago? There's one person listening that's like, well, I was just bald. And no, she's not, because, well, I mean, I think the average age of Catholic radio listeners are about 121. So there you go. She's definitely not listening on the podcast. She does not know how to podcast. So this is a wreck. I'm out of practice from last week. The track team. So that's where we were. St. Joseph's Catholic School has been around for 121 years. The track team has never, ever, ever won the district meet in track in 121 years. Now, I say that, and it's kind of not fair to say that because we've only had sports for about 20. but still, in 20 years, boys or girls, we've never won the team district track meet. We did that this season. Boys and girls won. Both of our teams were the runners-up at the regional track meet in San Antonio. That was 2 weekends ago. And that was just a lot of fun. And we had, I think 6 guys make it to state and about around the same number of girls, 6, 7, 8, something like that. So we were at the state meet in Waco on Friday and Saturday. So much fun. We had some injuries that we had to deal with. And I've never... you typically pray for the same things, right? You pray for your health, your well-being, your family, your loved ones, because you're a heathen and you need forgiveness and mercy, like all of these things, right? Those are typical things to pray for. I've only prayed for a hamstring during 2 times in my life. I blew out my hamstring in track when I was a senior and I wanted it to heal, so I prayed for my hamstring for like a month. It's just an odd thing to pray for. That was about 10 years ago. I started praying for a hamstring again this last weekend because one of our the kid who was actually the fastest kid in the state. He should have won state in the 100, the 200, and he probably would have gotten a medal on our 4x1 team as well. Blew out his hamstring, so I prayed for a hamstring for 2 days straight, and the Lord heard me and decided, better luck next year, Taylor. So, yeah, it was kind of a rough weekend, but putting in the context of the whole season, we sent 6 boys to state. We got 9 medals. We got bronze medals in the 4x1, the 4x100 meter relay, and in the 4x200 meter relay as well. Jake, our producer, his little brother's actually on the team and got a couple of medals there. And then we had a guy win, John Niver won a silver medal in the 100 meter dash. So it was a good weekend. And Roxanne Fernandez, we can't leave out the girls. I coach the guys. We can't leave out the girls. She's the first person in St. Joseph's history to ever win a gold medal at state. She won it in the triple jump. So congratulations to those who were on the team. I know a couple of them listen, and a couple of them are tired of hearing me yell at them at track practice, so they don't listen. But that's done. But the next big announcement I have to make today, some of you heard on social media yesterday, but I actually had to laugh because a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago now, we had Dean Willett on the show, and he was talking about fatherhood and parenthood and being a man of God. And during the interview, he accidentally let it slip that him and his wife, that his wife was pregnant, right? That they were going to have another baby. He announced that right here on Forte Catholic. The first time he told anybody publicly was right here on Forte Catholic. So it was just kind of funny. He's like, well, I guess I have to tell my employer now. Because I was like, I mean, I could edit that out of the podcast. He's like, no, it's fine. I guess it'll just push me forward to doing it. But if you haven't figured it out yet, that's the announcement. My wife is pregnant. So we are having yay! Thanks, Jake. That ended really abruptly. It's like, never mind. But we are having another baby girl in October. So my wife, that's exactly what it's going to sound like for the first 18 years. But no, we're really excited. We're really excited to be having another baby. We had our first two are 21 months apart. So these are now 2 daughters. Maggie's turned 2 in January, so they're going to be a little over 2 years apart. So we're really excited to be having this next girl. I'm going to let you, the listener, decide the baby's name. I'm just kidding. My wife would absolutely kill me. That's not going to happen. We'll just have a vote on Twitter, a Ministry Madness bracket of baby names. We might do that for fun, but I will say very clearly that I was going to say I have the last word, but it's really my wife that has the last word.
Well, last time that happened, they named a boat Bodie McBoatface.
Bodie McBoatface.
We could do that for your daughter.
Bodie McBoatface Stroll. She would not get made fun of at all in school.
Absolutely not.
So yeah, we're really excited about this, and I wanted to take this opportunity to look into some of the scripture verses about having children and the blessing that children are, because so often, not many listeners of this podcast would ask this question, but so often people outside of Catholic circles, or even after that outside of Christian circles, are like, wait, you're having another kid? Didn't you just have one? 4 days ago? It's like, no, it wasn't 4 days ago, but 2 years ago, right? So for some people, for the outside of the world of faith, having 3 kids in your first 5 years of marriage, that's a lot to a lot of people, right? And just looking at this Catholic worldview, this Catholic view of what children are, comes from the scriptures. So we're going to look first at Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. And it says, and God blessed them, talking about Adam and Eve, right? And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish in the sea and over the birds of the heaven and over every living thing that moves on earth. So the first thing I want to start this off is God told us to do this, right? And I will never, ever, ever personally be able to have dominion over all the fish of the sea, over all the birds of the heaven, over all living things that move on earth. I can't do that. That's a very hard thing for God to ask me to. So of all the things that God has asked me there, I'm going to at least do one of them. I'm going to be fruitful and multiply, because that's what I can do, right? So that's the first thing, is this is a calling that God has, right? And you all know that I've been in ministry for about almost 10 years now. And one of the biggest things that a minister is supposed to do is to bring people to God and then to cultivate their relationship with God, to help people grow in their faith, right? And the biggest joke in the Catholic world is like, what's the biggest, the best and the best way? I'm not going to say the whole quote because sometimes it might get me in trouble for saying it on the air. But the best and fastest way, I'll let you think about that. The best and fastest way to make new disciples is to have children, right? So I'm very honored, and it's also like eye-opening for me because so often people in ministry get so focused on the ministry that they're doing, like my ministry to youth ministers or to speaking to kids or these kind of things where it's like, okay, we can go out and try to quote unquote save all these kids. And so many people forget their mission at home, right? And Adam Minahan, who was on, and the guys from the Catholic Man Show talked about that. Dean Willett talked about that, how so many men get caught up in their jobs. So whether it's a secular job or it's a job in ministry, put so much effort and energy into, like in ministry, to helping other kids, and you forget about your first vocation of being a husband and a father, or if it's a woman, a wife and a mother. That's how that works. I was struggling there for a second. But that's the first thing. God asked us to do this, right? The second thing is in Psalms chapter 127 and 128. There's two that are there. It's in Psalm 127, 3-5, it says, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward." It's not fruit of the loom. That's not a reward. When you get whitey tidies for Christmas from your grandma, not a reward. But the fruit of the womb, children, are a reward from the Lord. And this is my favorite part. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies at the gate. So before having kids, I always liked the idea. I focused on the warrior part, right? Like arrows in the hand of a warrior. Like, yeah, I'm going to be a warrior with children as arrows. And then like after having kids, I realized that imagery is probably because I throw them a lot. You know, like you toss your kids up just like an arrow, and hopefully it doesn't come back and hit you in the foot, just like an actual arrow, right? Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them, right? If you're going to be an archer, I almost said arrowman, but if you're going to be an archer and you're going to go into battle, you don't want to go in with one arrow. Like that's going to be a very difficult battle unless it's a one-on-one bow and arrow battle, which has never happened in history, I don't believe. If you want to correct me, you can send all your hate mail to idon'tcare@fortecatholic.com. Somebody's going to do that, and I'm going to get an error message like somebody tried to send this email to you. But filling your quiver. So like now I have 3 arrows, like 2.5 arrows. Like I have 3 arrows in my quiver, right? And the part that never really sunk in until actually today when I was preparing for this, it's like, why should we be filling our quivers with arrows? It says, because this person, the man who has these children, will not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies in the gate. It's because I'm going to squad up with my kids. So when I walk up against my enemies, I'm going to have my 3 kids right behind me. And they're going to be like, "What's up? Don't mess with my daddy, or we'll shoot ourselves at you because we're arrows and he's not the bow, but he's the man." I don't know who the quiver is. Maybe it's my wife because the arrows come out of the quiver. This is getting really weird. But let's move on to the next psalm. Let's get out of Taylor speak and into God speak. So it says, "Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your home." So I love this because it talks, and then it continues to talk, "Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. Behold, thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord." So that through the family is how the man is blessed, right? So that the wife is a fruitful vine. So like you think about Jesus as being the vine and we are the branches. Like what does that imagery mean? That's where we get our life from. So like where I get my life is from Jesus, my life and my vitality, right? But in like the human sense, and even in like my vocational sense, where I'm going to derive my vitality, my energy, my sense of myself and love is from God revealing himself to me through my family. It says, "The Lord will bless you from Zion. May you see prosperity, the prosperity of Jerusalem all the days of your life." I don't know what that means for me. I don't know what the prosperity of Jerusalem means for me in my everyday life. Maybe I'll go visit there sometime and see what God's talking about. And then the last one I want to talk about is Proverbs 22 verse 6. It says, train up the child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So like this great call of parents, this great responsibility of parents to be the disciple makers of their children, to be the people who are leading their children to Christ. So I'm just really thankful for this great opportunity. Like Jake played earlier, the crying baby, like through all the crying baby, all those nights where I don't sleep. I love having kids. I love my two kids. We got to spend a lot of time together this past weekend. It's just so much fun. And like, actually, like when I went home today, I forgot to take my antibiotic this morning. So I drove back to my house and it like confused Maggie, my little 2-year-old. She's like, "Oh, you're home for the day." I'm like, "No, like I just left like 30 minutes ago." Right. And then like my wife sent me a picture of her just like bawling, crying when I left. And I felt terrible. So then I FaceTimed her, the miracles of modern technology. I FaceTimed her and she went from like not crying to like happy and giddy and like, "I love you, Daddy." And then we hung up and she was fine. It's like those moments. There was a moment last week when I was on Tuesday when it was like the worst day of my strep throat, like the day I was supposed to come on the radio. And I was laying in bed, like, half asleep, not feeling well, and a lot of like taking painkillers, all this stuff. I was watching a video on my iPad and Maggie came in and was like, "Dada." And she just like put her arms up to like come on the bed. She came and laid with me. She laid on my shoulder. She started watching the iPad. And then I looked down at her and immediately she was asleep. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm going to sleep now." And like we just slept together for 2 hours and it's just amazing. So the last announcement that I have to go that goes along with this announcement of having kids is about the podcast. So good news is the podcast Forte Catholic, it can now be found on Google Play. So I think like 80 to 90% of people that listen to podcasts do it on like Apple's podcast app, right? But if you are a loser and use Android, womp womp, there goes all my ratings, right? If you're a loser and use an Android, it's on Google Play now. If you're a hipster and you like Stitcher, it's on Stitcher now as well. And then the show is actually on Patreon as well. So if you go to www.patreon.com/Forte Catholic, Forte Catholic, you can find our Patreon page, and a lot of podcasters are using this. It's a way to build community with the person who makes the podcast and the people who listen. And it's also a great way that you can share your love and your support for the show. The show takes time, it takes energy, and it takes money. So there's a way to financially support the show. And with the baby coming around the way, I need every extra little penny that I can get. So if you want to go check that out, there are great rewards that you get, extra content that you get from doing that. Joining the Patreon group. So go check that out. We'll talk about it more at some other time. But yeah, we will be right back with the Catholic Drinkie, Sarah Fabulous. So stay tuned. All right. We are back for our second segment of Forte Catholic for the evening. I am very excited about our next guest. And if you haven't figured it out, a lot of our best guests happen on the 10s. On the 10th episode, we had Jimmy Aiken. We had another big guest at 20. And now we've got a very big guest on 30. So Sarah Fabulous is here joining us from Georgia. Sarah, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Taylor. Thanks for having me on. You guys are in Texas, right?
Yeah, we sure are. We're right smack dab in the middle of Texas in Bryan College Station, where the Aggies are. So
nice.
How close are you to University of Georgia?
I don't know, like an hour and a half or so.
Okay, so we got a good little rivalry going on. We got the Aggies over here, and the Bulldogs over there. So,
oh no, I am no Georgia fan, my friend.
Atta girl. So wait, so where does your allegiance lie?
Notre Dame.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I guess it's the typical Catholic thing to do.
That's where I went to college, man.
Oh, no way. What'd you study there?
Communications.
Oh, so you're going to take over my show, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. No, I'm just kidding. You got different skills. That's what the great thing about us Catholics is we all got something different to offer. Yeah,
that's I'm going to start using that because that's not really a compliment. You have different skills. Like you can walk in a straight line for longer than I can. Like
So, well, that might be good though in certain circumstances,
especially with what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about Catholicism and drinking. So you are the Catholic Drinkie. So why don't you give us a little? If you were stuck in an elevator with a random citizen that was asking about who you are, because that wouldn't be creepy at all, what would you tell them? Who is the Catholic Drinkie?
I'm just a Catholic young adult that is searching for ways to teach others about the great life of being a Catholic. And I chose alcohol, funny enough, as a way to meet people. Most of us that are in our 20s and our 30s, we're in a place where we like to have a good drink. It's something that is more accepted, I feel like, among our age group than necessarily some of the older ones, but it's a good way to get in touch with people, meet people where they're at, especially with the craft beer boom that really the whole United States of America has been experiencing. And so I got started by going out to the local pub that I could just walk to a couple nights a week, and would just sit next to folks and have a good conversation with them. Sometimes they'd order a bad beer, so I would suggest a good beer for them to drink. And then from there, we'd enter into conversation, and it always ends up the ability for me to talk about God, because they love to ask me, how do you know so much about beer? I tell them I'm a beer blogger, and then I really shock them when I tell them my website and my book. So it's just a lot of fun.
They're like, wait, yeah, no, it's confirmed. Those Catholics are crazy, right? So
Pretty much.
Yeah, I was listening to you talking to the Michael Gormley from the Catching Foxes podcast, and you were talking about the craft beers and how you always tell people whenever they pick a bad beer, like you wouldn't you were yelling at Gomer for drinking, I think it was a Miller Lite.
Yeah, that's his favorite. I'm shaking my head right now as I'm saying this to you. I'm like, Gomer, yeah. But he's an old friend, so I prod him about those things.
So yeah, I was listening, and at first I felt a little judged because I was like, I'm not a big beer guy. I'm more of an alcohol person. And you were like, even though I'm the Catholic Drinkie, actually in pretty recently, you've been moving over more to liquor. And I'm like, okay, now we're talking. So you started talking about some of your craft drinks. I'm like, that's the kind of stuff I'd like.
Yes. I guess around about 3 years ago, around when I turned 30, for some reason, my taste buds changed a little bit. And I'm more into wine and, really nice cocktails these days. Fine by me, especially as I get older, I'm collecting more girlfriends than guy friends. I used to have more guy friends, but, as folks get married, you can't really be as good of friends with your guys anymore. And so, whenever I have my girlfriends over, we just drink a lot of wine. So that's been a lot of fun, but craft cocktails are absolutely, I think, really a lot of fun to do. And what I really like to do is create cocktails for other people. If they tell me a couple of things flavor wise that they like, I come up with a recipe, give it to them, and then hopefully they test it out and like it. So I have the pleasure of being a recurring guest on the Jennifer Fulwiler show on SiriusXM. And that's something I do for her at least once a quarter, is come up with a drink so that she can share it with all of her listeners.
So do you do this on the fly, or do you go home and do some research before you give her her answer?
I just pretty much make it up. So, and then send it to her and hope for the best. I've had enough alcohol that I kind of know what works and what doesn't work.
All right, we're gonna test this out. Are you up to the challenge of making a mixed drink for me?
Sure, why not? Let's try it.
All right, so I am a true son of Texas. So I love whiskey and I love tequila. Okay. So
okay.
Those are very hard to mix. So let's just try. Let's go.
I was like, you don't want them together,
no,
right?
That sounds absolutely terrible. So let's go down one of those avenues. What's your favorite drink on either a whiskey drink or tequila drink?
So, I can't remember what it's called. And so pardon me, but about a year ago, I had a drink here at like a Spanish style tapas. I'm going to overemphasize that, tapas bar. And so it had mezcal and tequila in it and a little bit of egg white. And I want to say it was one of their bartenders who made it up, but it was literally one of the best things I've ever had. And it also had a little bit of lime in it. So anything with egg white and lime, you could do with tequila and mezcal, and you could call it a day. Really, really good stuff. And then for a whiskey, I'm more of a bourbon drinker when it comes to the whiskey world. And I would just go with an old fashioned. That's my favorite. It's my go-to.
That's where we're going to have our biggest agreement. I love old fashioned. The worldwide bitters crisis a few years ago just really hurt my heart a little bit. But I'm glad the bitters farmers, wherever the heck they are doing their job again. Congratulations to them for getting their livelihood back. The egg white thing, all of us, I have to say, all of us in the studio were just like, wait, really? Putting the egg whites in a drink?
Whoa. You guys have never had egg white in a mixed drink? Man,
No.
One of the most classic cocktails that you can make is called a gin fizz, and it has egg white in it. Seriously, if you guys have never heard of putting egg whites in cocktails, it is very much a flip back to the 1920s and the speakeasy craze. Very popular back then and has really reemerged now. It's just really nice. It gives it some foam to the drink, which is just really fascinating. And then I also consider it a health drink because it's got protein.
Oh yeah, very healthy, very good for you. What we might do is the crew of us here in the studio, we might go try this out together tonight, maybe after the show, maybe. Mainly because I don't want to, I've never seen anyone do this. So I want to go to a bar and I don't want to be alone when I ask for a drink with egg whites in it. So
well, it needs to be at a nicer restaurant. They tend to be, one of their craft cocktails that they'll make versus going into, I don't know, your neighborhood bar and grill. They'll probably think you're nuts.
That makes a lot of sense. That's why I think we just figured out why this doesn't make sense to me, because I don't go to fancy restaurants. If you've met me, me and fancy restaurants do not mix. So,
if you find yourself in Atlanta, my treat. The best gin fizz in the entire world is made at a restaurant right here in Atlanta. So,
well, cool. So we wanted to talk to you about your ministry, about the podcast that you do, and about your book. When I heard the name of your book, I immediately thought of somebody locally. The name of your book is The Catholic Drinkie's Guide to Homebrewed Evangelization. And right when I saw homebrewed, I thought of someone who I've actually talked to recently, who said he's a friend of yours. Father Ryan Higdon actually has a show on this radio network as well. And he says that y'all actually know each other, and he does his home brews as well. So he's our local hipster. I think he actually won your friend Tommy Ty's Catholic hipster priest of the year or something.
Yeah. I love Father Ryan. I think he is just fantastic, and yes, I consider him a very dear friend. So we love to text and talk about booze, and I was on the in when it came out about him brewing some beer with one of the local breweries.
Yeah.
He hit me up to talk through some of the recipes and all that. So just a lot of fun. He's a great guy. You guys are super lucky to have him locally, and he's written a couple things for my blog when he visited a brewery, and priests like that are just such an inspiration to me, because I think that my ministry as a female is a little, people kind of cock their heads to the side a little and go, wait, you're a girl and you homebrew. Whereas I think it's even weirder when they find out that priests homebrew. So we're sort of like two peas in a pod there. But it's just been great. I've been blessed in so many ways by meeting a lot of priests who also homebrew ever since my book came out about 2 years ago. And it's just really a nice way to build community. And I think it's awesome when priests do it, because it's a great opportunity for them to invite anybody in the parish of any age to come over and learn how to do something. And because the brewing process is 3 to 4 hours long, you naturally have to enter into good conversation, else you'll be super duper bored. And it's just a great opportunity to evangelize, talk about where people are in their lives, and get a sense of how you, especially as a priest, how priests can do some better ministry within their parish. Or in my case, when I've had people over, we just have good conversations about what they feel is missing in their lives ministry-wise.
Let's dive into your book in our last 5-6 minutes together. What made you want to be the Catholic Drinkie? What made you write this book? And the most important question of the day, how does alcohol and Catholicism evangelization mix?
Great questions. So why I'm the Catholic Drinkie? It's actually a very funny story. Back in 2010, I was at a conference in Boston, the Catholic New Media Conference. Lino Rulli happened to be there, who's a dear friend of mine.
Love that guy.
Yeah, he's super great. And, some other really great folks that were, 7 years ago, really on the forefront of Catholic media. And so we were there, and Lino, we were out drinking one night, of course, because Lino loves to do that. And he orders this terrible, terrible drink. And I look at him and I'm like, dude, you can do better than that. And so I got him a different drink, and he's like, all right, so you're here, but you don't actually have a blog or anything. What's up with that? You should do an alcohol and Catholicism blog. and I just told him, "Oh, ha, you're funny," and kind of wrote it off. But the next morning, got up, we went to the conference, and they did their kickoff for the day, and they made fun of some other bloggers that were out there. One was called Catholic Foodie, and so Jeff Young, he's in New Orleans, and he's awesome. Jeff has a blog and a podcast and a book as well. And so they made jokes that, hey, we've got the Catholic Foodie podcast, but heck, we'd never support a Catholic Drinkie podcast. So I decided to create the Catholic Drinkie and run with it. And so it's just been, yeah, pretty much out of spite, but as soon as they said it, I was like, this is God just making this name for me. It just makes it so easy. So I just decided to do this thing and have just had a great ride ever since. And yeah, I wrote the book. It was published 2 years ago. I signed the contract about 3 years ago with Liguori Publications. They came to me. They were looking to add some younger folks to their lineup of books and find some ways to really minister to both Catholics and non-Catholics, particularly of the young adult age group, and asked me to write a book for them. I thought it was a great idea. And so it took me about 6 months to write it and turned it in. And, 6 months later, it came out. So it's just been a lot of fun. I've had the pleasure of going on some trips to go talk to other people. Like Wyoming had me out about a year ago to talk to them about the book.
The whole state invited you. That's impressive.
Yeah, I know. It's great. Well, they only have they have one diocese there. So I did the eastern part of the state. I did 3 talks all over the state. And so it was just a lot of fun. Got to meet the bishop who just got appointed somewhere else. And so just really neat to meet all these folks, learn about what drives them in life and what Jesus is doing for them. And, hopefully I'm doing an okay job spreading his word as well.
Yeah, no, I whenever we started talking about, I've been following your show, especially your Catholic Hipster podcast where you and Tommy Ty do that together. Then because of hearing you on that, I heard about the Catholic Drinkie podcast. And then I heard about your book and I actually just bought it. I got it on Amazon the other day. I read the foreword by Lino Rulli and I read the first chapter. So other than Amazon, where can people find your book?
If you want to order it directly from me, you can, and then I'll autograph it and mail it to you. So you can go to CatholicDrinkie.com to buy the book. But you can also pretty much order it anywhere directly through Liguori on Amazon. But order from me, I'll also send you free koozies.
Free koozie? I feel like
can't beat a free koozie.
I feel like I didn't get. I bought it on Kindle. And it wasn't signed, and I didn't get a koozie. So I kind of feel like I was shorted, Sarah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Taylor. Just send me your mailing address, and I'll send you some koozies.
There you go. We did it. We just became friends. It happened. You heard it right here on Forte Catholic with Sarah Fabulous. So speaking of the podcast, so we mentioned that you are on these 2 podcasts. Why do you like this media? Like books is kind of old media. I mean, we get into Kindle, we get into Audible, that sort of thing. That's newer. But why do you like podcasting?
Oh man, because people actually listen to me talk for an hour every other week. I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy just interviewing Catholics. Graduated college, newspaper world was dying, so I decided to go into politics. Crazy me. But I just love interviewing people, and I think that's my favorite part. And just getting to know other people, what they're doing, what they're passionate about. And because I just love people, and I think that's just it. I don't care if we get 1 download. It's really just more meeting these people and having a great time and learning about Jesus along the way.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. That the interviews are my favorite parts of this radio show, of this podcast as well, because I get to meet great people like you, and then it makes me feel more important because I get to meet all these famous people like you that have 17,000 more followers than I do on Twitter. So yeah. So speaking of podcasting, thank you for coming on this radio show. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Blessings to you and all that you're doing. I know you're starting to do jobs soon, so if you're listening, pray for her in that transition. And go check her out. Go check out her podcast. Check her out on Twitter. Check her out on go buy her book. Help her out. So Sarah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. This was a true pleasure, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, will do. We'll tell Father Ryan hi for you.
Thank you. Please do.
All right. Well, the guys, thank you for listening to the second segment. Again, Sarah, thanks for coming on. We really enjoyed all that you have. I love talking about alcohol. I love talking about God, and I love podcasts. So being able to do all of those at the same time was just an absolute pleasure. So guys, we will be right back with our third segment of the show. We're going to be playing a game with Sam and Kyle here in the studio about signs and wonders, some Bible trivia. So stay tuned. We will be right back. All right, we are back. You always know it's a good segment when producer Jake looks at me and says, that was actually good. Because sometimes he doesn't listen to the show very much, even though he's sitting right in front of me. But yeah, he loves Sarah, fabulous. So Sarah, thanks for coming on the show. That was way too much fun. So in this last segment, what we're going to be doing is talking about signs and wonders. Mr. Bob Rice came into town a couple weeks ago and really convicted me on something about signs and wonders. So I'm going to leave it kind of ambiguous for now, and we're going to kick off this segment by playing a game with two people here in the studio with me. They have no idea what game they're about to play.
No idea.
So before we get into the game, I want each of you, in about 15 seconds each, to explain why you're going to win the game.
Look, I'm going to win the game because of heart. I got it. Sam doesn't. I'm first place, baby. Thank you so much.
It kind of sounds like you're struggling, so
I'm not struggling.
I know that I'm going
How
to
dare
win.
you.
I don't even need 15 seconds.
How dare
I'm
you.
going to win.
How dare you?
Yeah, Sam totally won that first round.
Boom, baby!
First of all, because you said she didn't have a heart, and then she spoke. It's really hard to talk when you don't have a heart.
That's true. That is true. I do
So
apologize.
the kind of premise of this signs and wonders things is that in the Bible, in the world of God, not the other world, the world of God, so all of them, there are signs and wonders. There are miracles. There are big things that happen that are just, this is definitely not something that is natural. This is something that is huge, right? So I was looking in the Old Testament, and I was thinking, okay, where are some of the signs and wonders in the Old Testament? Where are some of these miraculous things, right? And so I got to thinking about this story of when the Israelites are enslaved in Egypt, right? So they are enslaved in Egypt, and they get this man who could barely speak. He stuttered, and they went to him. God went to him, talked to him through a burning bush. So, like, that's a sign and a wonder, right? This is a sign that God is real. He's talking to me through a bush. And this is very wonderful. This is a big thing where you look at it and you're awestruck, right?
Right.
You're tracking?
Like way before hardcore drugs. Like there's nothing that could explain it.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yep.
I don't think that was the explanation in my Bible concordance. So thank you for that, heathen.
Oh, yeah.
There's confession actually going on downstairs.
Yeah, I'm also going to call Violet Ryan and see what he's doing.
Yeah, he's referencing something that you didn't hear off the air. Way to go. Fantastic radio. So now he's mad at me and he just walked. I'm just kidding. He didn't walk out. So Moses goes and God says, tell the Pharaoh to let my people go. So Moses is like, well, I don't want to tell him. I just a stutter. Just like I just stutter on the radio and I have to edit it out on the podcast so that you can't hear it. So I can make myself sound smarter than I actually am. I love radio so much. So he ends up, God convinces him to do it because God always wins, right? And he goes up to Pharaoh and he says, let my people go. And Pharaoh says,
No.
Congratulations, you both get 1 point. You're on. It is 1-1 right now.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and start this scoring. Sam has 1 point. Kyle has half a point.
Whoa, hey.
I'm in charge. I'm just kidding. Kyle
Okay.
gets 1 point.
That's right.
No, he has half a point for making that stupid reference.
Oh
earlier.
my
You have half a point.
gosh.
Okay. So Pharaoh says no. And then things start happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are called what?
Plagues.
The plagues.
Okay,
right?
okay,
I'm
you're
so
way
much
too
faster.
quick. You are way too quick.
Okay.
Is this part of the game? I'm not prepped.
You're not prepped. Okay. So these are the plagues. So what we're going to do, our Catholic trivia about signs and wonders is we're going to go to, you know what? We're going to do one together first. And then we're going to do one together where I'm going to say 1, 2, 3 and you'll both say your answer.
Okay.
Right? and I am the sole judge.
Okay.
Jesus is judge on the last day, but not right now.
Not today.
It is me. I have a gavel
No, you don't.
in my hand.
Nope.
I definitely do. So we're going to go through these, and you're going to each alternate getting a chance to answer which one is the next plague.
Okay.
So to start it off with a little easy one,
Yeah.
we're going to start off with the last one. Okay?
Okay.
So on the count of 3, you both have to say at the same time, what? No talking to each other, no cheating. Keep your phones in your pockets, no asking Siri. What is the last plague? 1, 2, 3.
Death of the firstborn.
Yeah, death of the
You
firstborn
gave that
son.
to me. I don't want your charity, Sam.
You don't want charity. All right, Sam has 2 points. Kyle has 1.5. Okay. So Kyle, I'm going to give you a chance to take the lead, actually.
Okay.
Because you already have
I'm so talented and handsome.
I've already docked your score
I
here.
do appreciate that. Thank you.
So the first plague.
Yeah.
No helping,
No
Sam.
Okay.
What is the first plague?
Okay. My instinct is locusts.
Your instinct is locust, and that is wrong.
Oh my
Jake did not
gosh.
do the sound effect for the bad buzzer.
Well,
Um,
thank you, because my heart just couldn't take it.
You got that is incorrect. Sam, we'll see if you can steal this.
Yeah. What
point.
do you think it is, Sam? Huh?
Silence is great radio, Sam.
I'm sorry, I was thinking.
No thinking aloud, only answer.
Is it?
You got to go first instincts. Go.
Isn't there something with the cows dying?
Oh my god.
that is incorrect.
That's,
No,
that's definitely
no
Thor.
cows. Okay,
Oh,
thanks,
that was a
Jake.
good- How did I
Jake's
get the
in.
sound? He did.
Okay,
You
so
were so
neither
wrong.
of you got it. The first one is that the lake turned into blood.
Oh, I thought that was like
I
the
didn't know
second.
that counted.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now it's Sam's turn to go first.
Oh no.
What's the second one? I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It's
give us a
not
hint.
something that y'all have listed already.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's one of the other plagues.
Is it the one with the bugs?
You're gonna have to be more specific.
Like locusts? Like what I said?
No, not.
There
like-
there are other bugs.
It's like the mosquitoes things.
No, that's incorrect.
Dang it.
Jake. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah.
Kyle.
I'm gonna say the frogs.
It is the
frogs?
I
How-
thought
how-
of the
how do you say-
frogs.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yay!
So he said frogs.
What?
So
That's
it's
so
2.5.
exciting. Good job,
I
Kyle.
was gonna be real, like, since I took
Half a point.
I was gonna give you an extra hint of it's an amphibian because it's the only amphibian in the list.
I'd be like, the tadpoles. It's the tadpoles.
all right, Kyle, it's your turn again. Because
Okay.
you get to go first this time. What is the third plague in Egypt?
Is that the one where everybody had to wait in line for their favorite refreshing drink?
That is incorrect.
I can't remember anymore.
I will say I did not remember this one.
Yeah.
I didn't preface the game with this.
It's not the cows, is
I
it?
think I would have gotten 2 of these right. so Sam, I think I would have gotten the first and the last one right. Maybe the second to last one if I thought about it.
Yeah.
But Sam, you get a chance.
Okay.
I didn't know this one at all.
Okay. I'm just thinking of the Prince of Egypt and that one song, and I'm just trying to say the things I remember
It's a
from
good
there.
reference.
I love that movie.
It's such a good
So
movie.
good,
Great
right?
Okay, hey, you're just giving her more time to think. Sam, what's your answer?
There's no. He hasn't asked a question.
No, it's the same question.
Same.
What's the third one?
What's
Do
the
I get
third?
a hint?
So it was water into the blood, and then the frogs, and then
Do I get a hint?
I mean, Kyle might hate me if I give you a hint.
Wait, is it something we've already said?
It's not something you've already said.
Okay, that's enough of a hint.
3,
I got nothing.
2,
I got nothing.
1. It's lice. I don't remember that one. At
Oh, I do
all.
remember that. Yeah, because
Lice?
in Prince of Egypt, I remember them scratching their
No,
head.
but I
they
thought
really?
that was from
Yeah.
the mosquitoes. They were scratching all over.
I think you're thinking
lice.
of locusts. Were there mosquitoes? Is that a plague? I'm pretty sure it's not.
We can't talk about the future.
It was like bed bugs.
All right.
Remember?
Lice.
I actually don't know what this next one means. I'm going to
Okay.
look it up. So the next one, it's really
None of us are
weird.
gonna get these.
It's really weird. Let's just skip that one. The next one, what my note says is that the curse was a mixture of wild animals.
Yeah, I think that's the cow one I'm thinking of.
No.
Oh, that's another one?
There's another. Okay, I'll give the next one away too. The
Man.
next one is diseased livestock. So like,
Okay.
that's the
See,
one.
I
that's
remember the cow falling
Yeah,
over.
that's what I remember.
But
And I was so sad because I love cows.
What's the mixture of wild animals?
They're two separate ones.
Yesterday I went to this Chinese restaurant and I ordered like
a mixture
where
of
I-
animals.
where I got shrimp and cow and pork and like is that what happened?
I think so. Either that or God just really didn't like animals at that point. He was just like,
Yeah.
enough of that.
I don't know. All right, so what we got so far: water into blood, frogs, lice, a mixture of animals, whatever the heck that means, Chinese food, disease, livestock. Whose turn is it? I think it's Sam's turn.
Sam.
I
What's
just
the next
got
one?
earned. But it's his turn.
Oh,
You
it
just
is
got
mine.
what?
It is mine. The disease
You're like,
livestock was mine.
It was
Oh,
wrong.
I thought you said.
So it's mine.
I thought you said burnt, which is actually a hint.
Oh. Oh gosh.
Not-
Was there fire?
It's not exactly.
Oh, can
It's
I
not
do it?
exactly. It's a kind of a hint. It's in the same realm.
Is it where the fire, it got too hot and then all the Egyptians were like, it's getting hot in here?
Oh, can I go?
That's incorrect. Yeah,
Is it the tornado of fire?
Oh.
tornado? No,
I think that's
That was in
definitely
the
Prince of Egypt. Yeah, that's
that's
That
Disney.
movie taught me
Yeah.
nothing.
DreamWorks is failing us this evening.
This is terrible. Boils in your skin. It's like,
Oh, so
that's-
not in all related to fire, Taylor. Come
They're
on.
the burn.
No, but you didn't
Shut
say
up.
boil.
All right. So now it's
Sam.
My-
Sam's turn. All right. What's the next one?
It
At
is.
this point, we're just like, what's another one? Because we're getting
Exactly.
close to the end.
Eventually, we're going to get to Locust. I'm ready. I'm ready.
This one's locust. Oh, I call it right now.
Well, I mean, I'm also going to say Locust. Are we, oh.
You're both wrong.
Oh,
You want the next that one was thunderstorm of hail.
Oh.
It's actually, I was out at track practice the other day. It was beautiful, and then it started hailing on us while we were at track practice. And then 20 minutes
Seriously?
later, it was beautiful again. Like
Yep.
I got hit in the head with something, and I'm in the middle of this field with no trees around. I'm like, what the heck is happening? I was getting hit with hail. All right, what's the next one? 3, 2, 1.
Locust.
You all get a point.
Yeah.
Kyle is currently winning by half a point.
Ooh, see that half a point was
There
going to
you go.
come in some
I
point.
know.
Oh,
Oh.
That was fun.
that was
All right, school's still in session.
Yeah.
You
good.
can't
Let
leave.
my people go. That's what they say.
Go down, Moses. Way down Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. All right. The second to last one. We've already, so currently Kyle is winning by 3.5. So even if the order's wrong, I'm going to let you both answer this one, but you have to answer at the exact same time.
Okay.
What is the second to last plague? The last plague is the death of the firstborn. The second to last plague is 3, 2, 1.
Death
darkness.
of a dog.
Is it darkness? I remember darkness.
Darkness!
Yeah.
You're right.
All right.
Did you say death of a dog?
Yeah, I
Death
did.
of a dog.
Oh
I
my
just panicked.
gosh.
I
Is that-
panicked.
That was the mixture of animals. How dare you?
Is that in Prince of Egypt as well?
No.
Mixture of animals. Yeah,
Jake.
Jake, the producer, is being a great producer and looked up mixture of animals.
So it's pretty much. It says the fourth plague of Egypt was of creatures capable of harming people and livestock. So it was a bunch of
Like
animals
wolves?
that could hurt humans and other livestock.
So like a wolf mixed with the sheep and the sheep no longer existed. That's what it means?
I don't. They probably just came and hurt them.
Okay.
Killed them.
I'm going to
So-
say there's a Hebrew translation somewhere that makes a lot more sense.
I
yeah,
hope so.
Yeah, there are people that know Hebrew that are like, those guys on this show are idiots. All right.
Exactly.
So, but we might have time for another game right at the end of the show, but I want to make sure we have time to actually talk about the signs and wonders idea, right? Because what our good friend the leprechaun Bob Rice was talking about was that signs and wonders almost always prefaced people turning to God. So, like in the ones we were just talking about, with all of these plagues, most of us think that it was for the reason of showing Pharaoh God's power, so that Pharaoh would let the people go, right? Which was the main request. But scripture scholars have looked at these for years, and they said actually these plagues were for the Jewish people. They didn't affect the Jewish people, but they were to show that I am your God. I am powerful and I am for you, right? That was the main thing God was after, because they were slaves for so long that their entire way of thinking was that they were slaves of Egypt, not the chosen people of God that they had been since Abraham, since hundreds of years before, right? So God was showing them and starting to mold them into, you are going to be my people. First of all, you've always been my people, but in your head, you're going to see yourself as my children, right? So he shows these signs and wonders, all these things we just talked about. And if you know the rest of the story, you know that Pharaoh finally lets them go because of the death of the firstborn, his son died. He's finally like, fine, get out, right? Your God is powerful. I'm distraught. Get out. And they went to the Red Sea. And then Pharaoh was like, well, never mind. I want my slaves back. I want to be able to build things. So he sent his army back out after them, right? And then the sign and the wonder is that God through Moses split the Red Sea so that people could walk through, right? And then there are just quick synopsis, because I'm sure most of you listening have heard this story a dozen times, right? But the point being that these signs and wonders were the first thing that happened before God said, you are my people and I am your God, before he reminded them of what he had told Abraham hundreds of years ago, right? And the next thing that he did when they were wandering in the desert is he gave them the 10 commandments and said, this is how you be my people, right? But before he even, which was a sign and wonder in itself, because Moses brought 2 tablets up, not iPads, like actual stones, right? The first iPad ever. Thanks, Steve Jobs, for stealing from God. Okay. So I think he's still paying royalties to the Lord. But brought the tablets up and God wrote on them, right? Which I wish I could see those. I just want to see what God's handwriting's like, because mine's terrible.
Yeah, it might be messy. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
He's like, dang it, I messed up. And he has to erase, like, he just does whatever he wants.
Right.
But God continues to make, like, before God made Israel this nation that became, a great nation under the rule of David, and like all these great stories in the Old Testament that we hear, he first started with these signs and wonders, right? If we look in the New Testament, in the life of Jesus, like, Jesus walks up to blind Bartimaeus and he asks him, what do you want from me? This is the man who's been blind for many, many years. And so think about, like, being blind your whole life and Jesus walks up to you and says, hey, what do you want from me? Like, well, obviously I don't want to be blind anymore, right? But like, Jesus knew what he needed, but he still asked him, first of all, because he wanted him to be involved in that process. But the sign and the wonder was that Jesus answered his question. He says, Lord, I want to see. And he was able to see not only physically, that was the sign and the wonder first, that he was physically able to see. But then the next step was he sees him as the Lord, because he was able to make him not blind anymore, right? And we see all these signs and wonders, like all these miracles throughout Scripture. And if we had more time, we could list a few more, but you know them, right? You know these great miracles that we've heard. And the big challenge that I've had on myself for the past couple of weeks that I want to share with you is, are you asking for these signs and wonders in your life? I think so often, this is what I was really convicted of, that we have anxiety about asking for these signs and wonders and I think it comes from a lack of trust in that God is who he says he is. And that he is just as powerful as the guy who sent these plagues, just as powerful as he was whenever he raised Jesus from the dead. So this has been Forte Catholic. We'll talk more about this next week, but this has been fun. Check out the podcast. Say it!